last two episodes, we've shown a lot of different artifacts, replicas, facsimiles, genuine articles that will be on display October 5th, Saturday, October 5th, Church of Christ, Santa Clara. My name is Mike Wilson. I'm an evangelist with the church, and we're going to have this How We Got the Bible museum event. And we have an exhibit of various items for the adults. We've got skits for the kids, fun things that the kids can do, learning activities to learn how the Bible came down to us through the ages, both for adults and the kids. And we've been showing the last two episodes some of the various items that we'll have on display for people to actually look through and see. We're really excited about it, and we have some more for you now, some other items. I have here a replica of the Siloam inscription, and it will be on display at our Bible Museum event day, October the 5th. During the days of King Hezekiah, he routed water into Jerusalem from the Gihon Spring into the pool of Siloam. And as the workers were cutting the tunnel and meeting from both ends in a feat of marvelous engineering, they met midway as they cut through the rock. And there was this inscription that was right there at the midway point in the tunnel in ancient Hebrew, describing the meeting together of those two work parties as they met during the days of King Hezekiah, routing that water to avoid total catastrophe as the Assyrian armies under King Sennacherib were invading Judah. And this is an artifact replica that illustrates that amazing event that occurred. And eventually, the angel of the Lord would slay 185,000 Assyrians in one night. Sennacherib never did invade Jerusalem. And that's another story, but we'll be telling some of those stories about how the Bible came to us during this event we have October 5th. Another area of display we'll have that day concerns the Dead Sea Scrolls. In previous episodes, we've seen some of the other artifacts or replicas that we have of Dead Sea Scroll related items. This comes from a Ten Commandments scroll, and interestingly enough, you have in the Hebrew here the Ten Commandments found among those scrolls. This is an exact replica, and we'll have many other really, really neat items that if you're local, you'll want to see. Every ancient Israelite household had plenty of these oil lamp, and this one comes from basically the New Testament period. You have a wick, which was a little rope that is actually inside here. I can't pull it out. They would put oil in this, and they'd light the wick, and you'd have this little fire that would light up a whole house or a whole section of a house. Interestingly enough, this imagery is used many, many times in the pages of the Bible, sometimes even to describe the Bible itself. For example, Psalm 119, verse 105 says, "Your word is a lamp to my feet, a light to my path." It's like one of these, shows through the darkness. One of the things that we'll have on display during our Museum Day event is different examples of New Testament manuscripts down through the ages. We'll have examples of entire codex books. We'll have examples of manuscript fragments. This particular fragment replica is a fragment called P52. It's a fragment of the Gospel of John. It might be the oldest, or at least one of the oldest, pieces of a New Testament book, manuscript, that has ever been discovered. This one comes from the very early part of the 2nd century, probably, just within a decade or two or three of when the Gospel of John was actually written. And so it's extremely valuable, and we'll have many other examples of these on display during our museum day. In the early 1380s, maybe 1382, you had John Wycliffe lead a team of translators that translated from the Latin Vulgate and put the Bible into the English language for the very first time. Now later on, a century and a half later, William Tyndale would translate from the original Greek New Testament, original Hebrew Old Testament, at least a good portion of it. But Wycliffe's team translated from the Latin Vulgate. So it's an inferior translation, but it's better than nothing. And absolutely beautiful, handwritten manuscript full of all kinds of intricate designs. But more than anything else, it put the Bible back into the hands of the common people, and it lit a fire throughout England of this intense hunger for the Bible in their own native language. Common person couldn't relate to Latin, couldn't understand Latin, couldn't understand the liturgy of the Roman Catholic Church. And so this really got a whole movement going in the 1400s. This movement was the Lollard movement. You had a number of people that wanted to return to biblical Christianity, to learn the Bible by heart in their own native English. And John Wycliffe got a whole lot of that started in the late 1300s. This is a facsimile of a William Tyndale Bible, William Tyndale New Testament of 1526. He translated the Bible into English from the original Greek New Testament from the very first time. And William Tyndale is one of my favorite characters. We're going to tell a little bit about his story in our how we got the Bible event day on October the 5th. But we have a few examples of early Tyndale Bibles that you'll really want to see. You can see from the close-up that he had a little artistic rendering that accompanies the woodcut, puts things in color, along with the printed page, some little footnotes handwritten on the side. But William Tyndale was an absolute genius of a translator, and he paid for all of that with his life. He eventually was strangled to death in 1536, and then his body was burned at the stake. And his last words were, "Lord, open up the King of England's eyes." We're going to have a lot of really neat things on display October 5th, but this is one that you want to see. This is a 1629 King James version. King James came out as a full edition, both Testaments, in 1611. So 1629 is 18 years later. But this is a first edition, Cambridge edition of the King James. And very rare. The Bible antique dealer that sold me this says this is the best version of a early Cambridge Bible that he'd ever seen. And the typical English Bible of that day and age was kind of hijacked by the Church of England, so it had 5 sections. In the first section, you have a Book of Common Prayer, which is the Anglican devotional guide prayer book. Then you have the Old Testament. Then you have the Apocrypha, because the Anglicans were the most Catholic of all the Protestant denominations, and they accepted the Apocrypha. Then you have the New Testament, and then the 5th and final section is the whole book of Psalms collected in the English meter, and that is a psalm book, a hymnal, that was basically their church songbook. They would sing the Psalms, And so you have all 5 sections. You see from the close-ups of this book that it's stunning, beautiful. It's in excellent condition. There's a section of ancient family autographs from the Bajent family, births, baptisms, deaths, funerals, and so on, dates that go back into the 1700s. And this Bible itself, again, dated from 1629, but still in outstanding condition. You want to come and see this. This is really, really special. I have here a little prayer book. Looks like a Bible, but it's not a Bible. You have beautiful shark skin leather on the outside, restored clasps. But as you open it up, you have a red-ruled book. It's not a Bible. You see from the close-ups, it's actually a book of common prayer that for many common English men and women was a substitute for the Bible. In the 1700s and beyond, and the separatists and dissenters really complained because the establishment church of England of the time was the Anglican church. We call it the Episcopalian church in this country. And many Englishmen and women were valuing this to a greater extent than they valued the Bible itself. And so this young lady, probably a teenager who owned this, this was her Bible, but it wasn't really a Bible. And that's part of the story of the history of the Bible as well, that you had many movements that were spawned to get back to the Bible, even as the Bible had already been translated into English, but not everybody fully appreciated what they had when they had a Bible, and so they began to come up with substitutes like this. But it too is part of that history. Again, my name is Mike Wilson. I'm the author of the book Inspiration to Ink, the big picture of how we got the Bible. As we're recording this is the first day that this actually was mailed to me. So this is going to be an accompanying book to our Museum Day event, October the 5th. You can get one of these if you'd like. But the event is absolutely free of charge, and we're really excited about it. There are going to be skits, there are going to be people in costume, there are going to be all kinds of exhibits, there are going to be videos, there are going to be activities for the children. It's going to be like a museum exhibit and a VBS, Vacation Bible School for the children, all rolled up into one on one Saturday. That's October the 5th. You want to be there. I'm excited about it. I hope you're excited about it. We'd love to see you if you're local here in the South Bay area of California. And be about from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. October the 5th. And hope you can come and see many of these marvelous things that we've shown you during this YouTube video.